Welcome back to Dreamworld Observatory. Today we're going to start trying to be an amateur astronomer. We're going to study backyard astronomy. And the way we're going to do this, we're going to start off learning a little thing called stargazing. It's pretty much the only way you can learn from ground up. The first thing you need to do when you go to stargaze is you need to get a clear night. That will be a night without the moon, particularly. Save the moon for another night when you really want to look at the moon. But when you're stargazing, you really want a dark sky. And one way to get a dark sky is to stay inside for a few minutes, go out, walk around, and give your eyes a few minutes to adjust. The next thing you're going to need is, you're probably going to need a flashlight. Now, preferably one with a red lens. Because what you done, I'll tell you about that in just a minute, but you need a red lens on your flashlight. Another thing you're going to need is some kind of star charts. Now you can have star charts, you can have an iPhone that has apps on it for it, and you can have an iPad that has apps on it. We'll talk about those in just a few minutes. Another good choice will be a Planisphere. And I know you don't know what that is, but we will talk about that a little bit too. Next thing you need to do is, since you're going to be stargazing, most of the time people will stargaze in the fall and the winter. That's my favorite time. Summertime has a lot of mosquitoes. So what you want to do is you want to bundle up. And I know you don't think it's cold in the fall, but long about 10:30, 11 o'clock, maybe midnight, it's going to get really cool. Another thing you need to do when people don't think about this is to wear a hat. So we'll look at wearing a hat and see why we want to wear a hat. Okay, I mentioned, let's go down some of those things I just mentioned. I mentioned that you need a clear night. Now, I would prefer when I'm out looking at stars that I don't have clouds. I mean, you can go out when it's partly cloudy, which means it's mostly clear. You can see quite a bit. But I prefer to go out when it's really clear. Everything will look real crisp to you, and you'll be able to actually follow your patterns. Next thing I mentioned was a flashlight with a red lens. Now you can get these at Walmart or anywhere like that. You can find a red lens, or you can put a piece of red plastic. You can even spray paint the glass. Now here's what I use: a simple little flashlight, and I put a piece of plastic inside to make it red. Now the reason for that is once you go outside, you really can't see in there. You look around and you feel like you're blind. After about 15-20 minutes, your eye will become accustomed to the dark, and you'll be amazed at how many stars you see. It'll be so many, just breathtaking. Now, you'll have star charts with you. I remember I mentioned star charts. Now you can have star charts to find your constellations. Yes, that's another thing. We're going to mention the constellations. So you'll use a flashlight to look at the star chart. Now the star charts will be in books. Now I'd like to mention a couple of books before I show you what's inside. Now here's one called NighatWatch. It's a very good one. It's a practical guide to viewing the universe. I would suggest you try to get one of these, because inside this you're going to find star charts. Now the star charts are very simple. They're not big, massive with millions of stars. Now these are things for you to look at real easy. This particular book, say for instance, let's look at this particular one right here. Here's a star chart that shows the winter sky. This is the winter from where I'm located. If you look at it real close, you'll see that there are constellations on here. Flipping this over to the next page shows them what they really look like when you look up at the sky. Now, if you don't have a red flashlight shining on this page, it's going to blind you, and then when you turn over to here or look to the sky, you won't be able to see it. So you need that red lens flashlight. Now, let's get back to this. This chart right here shows the winter sky, and it shows a couple of things. It shows north. Now you'll be holding this up like this. It'll be north, south, east, and west. Now that sounds backwards, but if you was to face south and hold this up, this point right here will be overhead, and this would be east, and this would be west. That is the correct way to use it. Notice I mentioned the zodiac. Now, but we'll talk about them in just a minute. You see there's a line right here. That's the ecliptic. This ecliptic is where the sun passes. The sun's always on that ecliptic. And if you'll look real close when you're outside, you may find other things on there. Once you're able to identify them, the planets also follow on or just about on. You'll find the moon, the sun, and all the planets will follow that ecliptic. And that ecliptic will run, when you hold it back up, it'll run from east to the west. That's if you're facing south. That's the way I like to do it. Also, this particular book also takes star charts. Remember I showed you the winter where it has summer, autumn, fall, and winter. And then it takes each one of those sections and it breaks them up into little graphs like this, which you'll see like this is the polar. This has got the big difference, little difference, all this on it. Then it'll show you some objects that you can find on there with a pair of binoculars or a small telescope. So we'll get into them a little bit later. But this book is very good for that. Here's another book we got. It's called The New Astronomer. Now, I like this book too. This book does it a little bit different. It has a lot of graphs, star charts in it, just like that one. But a couple of things that I like that's inside this one. I mentioned the Zodiac Constellations. This is the Zodiac Constellations. Now, there are a lot of constellations up in the sky. And not all of them can you see in the same season. But if you want to learn the ones that are on the ecliptic, there will only be 13. Now, that's some other ones that I like. There are 13 zodiac, they're called Zodiac Constellations. There's 13 follow that ecliptic. And during the seasons, there'll be certain ones in the sky. Now, there are some other ones that you'll want to learn too. You'll see Orion, you'll see Pegasus and all this, and those will become interesting to you. You'll want to keep up with those too. But for starting off, learn the Zodiac Constellations. And get you a couple of books that has the star charts. Now, there's another thing you can do. I mentioned a Planisphere. If you'll look at this, this is called Guide to the Stars, and it's made by, I don't see who actually made it. I don't see the brand name on it right off the bat. But this one here, I got this one from Amazon. It's a very good one. And you'll take all the star charts right here. You can take this out. Notice it's got north, south, east, and west. And when you hold it up, you get the same thing. Now, this one will be changed to match your location. Like here where I'm at, it's about 30 degrees. You may be at 40, 45. So you're going to have to, now this one's good for up to 40, 45. So you need to make sure which one you're getting. Anyway, that's the kind of thing you'll need. Now, getting books and Planisphere and the star chart. The star charts are in the books, remember. You don't need a whole bunch of books. I only keep 2 or 3. And this is my pride and joy right here. That helps me out. The next thing you need to make sure you do when you go out is you need to bundle up because it's going to get cold. And you need definitely to wear a hat. The reason you want to wear a hat is because around about midnight, dew starts to form. And if your head gets cold, actually it's going to get cold if it gets wet. When it gets wet, your head's going to be cold and you're not going to be worth 2 cents out there. You're going to be very irritated. So wear your hat whenever you're out. Doesn't matter if you're in the summertime. Dew forms in the summer too. Early in the morning, if you stay out all night, you'll find out that dew's out there. Okay, I looked at this closely. The name of this Planisphere is Guide to the Stars, and this one here is available at Amazon. It doesn't cost about, I think it's around $14, $15. If you don't buy anything else, you need to look at this. We'll do a special on how to, a special series on how to operate this if you would like. Another thing, this is the type of hat I was talking about. Just any little old cap. Just if you want to wear a toboggan, that's fine. That would be okay in the winter. But right on top of it, sit your little hat there. This hat will keep you from getting wet, and that's the key. Okay, I think we've given you enough to actually go out and look at the stars. Just remember to wear a hat and bundle up, and be sure to remember what I told you about a red light. Don't go out and look at any kind of a star chart or even a planisphere with your naked eye and a flashlight. Use a red lens. Okay, we're going to call that a wrap. If you haven't done so already, press like at the bottom and subscribe. And until the next time, keep looking up in clear skies.